Piles of minor changes make the sequel better but maintain the core gameplay mechanics. This is Killing Floor 2, the sequel surprisingly enough to Killing Floor, a first-person shooter in which you fight to survive through waves of hordes of Zeds, collecting and improving your weaponry as you go. The story behind Killing Floor is that the failed experiments carried out by Horzine Biotech resulted in various creatures being released onto the streets, some with mechanical enhancements which make them into highly violent killing machines. It's fairly standard zombie but not zombie storyline stuff. If you played the original, you'll already know exactly what you're getting into, as the layout of the game is virtually identical. There are several waves which progressively get more difficult until the finale, which consists of a boss fight. And between each of the waves you need to find a shop which you can buy new equipment and restock ammo and armour. You start off by choosing a class. The old classes are still there like Commando, Demolitionist and Berserker, but there are also some new ones to choose from as well like Survivalist, SWAT and Gunslinger. This choice gives you a variety of different playstyles and also dictates your role within the team. Some of the classes serve as good spray damage which clear out the hundreds of small Zeds which are heading towards you like the Firebug. Others are designed to take out the large mobs such as the Sharpshooter, and there are also a variety of support classes which keep the team alive and fully stocked, like the Medic and the aptly named Support class. My go-to class is still Commando, as it was in the first game, but this time around it just seems more powerful. Popping heads is just as satisfying as it always was, but with the addition of various somersault animations and hitboxes being good enough that you can get them mid-jump, it makes everything you do that much cooler, especially when you're in Z time. It is slightly disappointing that there were no real additions to the weaponry for the Commando. Fortunately, it is a slightly different story for the Firebug, who now has a microwave gun, which is one of the most unique guns I've seen in recent times. As you shoot the Zeds, they begin inflating and bulging until eventually they explode. It's equal parts cool as it is disturbing. Berserker has had quite a major overhaul from the last game and now follows a well-balanced but easy to use melee system. You have 3 different attacks to choose from: fast slashes, heavy slashes and block, and these vary depending on your direction of movement when you do the attack. It's not the best melee fighting system I've seen, but it is good fun. The new classes aren't vastly different, as the SWAT class feels more like a variation on the Commando, the Gunslinger essentially works out as a dual-wielding Sharpshooter, and the Survivalist is actually just an all-round class which gets general improvements on all weapons. They're good additions, but they're certainly not a major buying point. In the previous game, the prices of guns varied depending on which perk you chose. This time around, all of the guns are a constant price, and this makes it a lot easier to combine classes. I found myself frequently using the Commando class but having a rocket launcher as a side weapon to deal with the large Zeds. The levelling up system for the perks is also vastly different. There are now 25 levels, and every 5 you get a choice of 2 different improvements which you can craft a class into your own playstyle with. They usually consist of one which assists the team and one which improves your solo ability. This feels like a much better system, as it feels like you're making consistent progress as you see level ups more frequently. The Zeds are almost identical for the most part. There are a few more low level Zeds to choose from such as Cysts and Slashers, but the old favourites are still there such as the Fleshpound and the Scrake, as well as the most irritating ones like the Siren and the Bloat. Each one poses its own threat and makes every wave dangerous in its own way. While the new styles took a little bit of time to get used to, I now find myself looking back at the old ones, and I think I prefer the new one more. I think a large part of this is the new animations for them make them feel a lot more lifelike. It gives the combat more variety and improves the overall experience. The biggest change is the introduction of a new boss in the form of Hans Volter, who throws out piles of grenades which either explode or cover the area in noxious gas, and a combination of dual machine guns and claws complete his lethal arsenal. I still feel like he's more dangerous than the Patriarch, as he's more than capable of wiping out an entire team if you happen to position yourselves badly. The soundtrack is also a major improvement in my opinion. In the first game I actually had the music muted because I couldn't stand the constant screeching on some of the songs, but it has now been replaced almost entirely with unrelenting metal tracks, which add to the constant fighting and make it a complete experience. So I was actually in the early access for Killing Floor 2 from the start, and have seen it get progressively better as they added perks, levels and weaponry to the game. Quite honestly, the gameplay has been solid from the start, but it just needed little statistical changes to make levelling up more balanced and scale down the difficulty of Dr. Hands. It's a game which had to tread a very careful line between being new while not changing the original formula too much, and I think they've got it just right. The gameplay is generally smoother and looks more realistic, the monsters look great and are incredibly satisfying to slaughter time after time, but the beating heart of Killing Floor is still there. My only slight complaint with it is that because of the progressive nature of the game, things like blood remains and any broken lights stay broken, is that by the time you're up to wave 10 the environment is so dark that it's difficult to make out some of the monsters, particularly the crawlers. Ultimately I like Killing Floor 2 more than the original, and don't see any reason to go backwards. I would recommend it based on the amount of fun and potential amount of game time you'll get out of it, but don't expect anything truly groundbreaking. It's good, solid, guns blazing, Z splatting, head banging fun.